Wherever you are and however you're listening, thank you so much for being back with us on another episode of the Virtual GM Podcast. Today, we are talking about spring break and Easter. It is April 10th, and Easter is just around the corner, if you can believe it, 10 days from now. We've got some awesome tips and tricks. We talk about your revenue and your rate strategy. We also talk about minimum nights of stays. A lot of great information in this episode. I know you're going to love it. Be sure to stay tuned, like, and subscribe. And most importantly, enjoy the episode.
Welcome back to another episode of Virtual GM Podcast. We're your hosts, Megan and Cody, and we're excited to have you along for the journey today.
Yeah, buddy.
Like always, we start it with our segues. Personal best, business best. And I'm going to go first.
Okay. Why do we do a segue?
I don't know.
Because we operate on EOS.
Oh, well, yeah, because of EOS, but I don't know why it's part of EOS.
Well, because that way you actually get to know your team members. Like if you just start a meeting and it's like, okay, here's what we did last week, here's where we failed, here's where we succeeded. It gives you a minute to build that connection and then to start the meeting off in a positive way. And it puts you in that positive mindset, positive momentum of here's 2 good things that happened. And reminding people that good things happen every week.
For sure.
But if you don't take the time to acknowledge it,
totally,
you could get through a week and feel like nothing happened.
You're right. Ooh, okay. I love that. Thanks.
You're welcome.
You're an EOS
expert.
Professional expert. I couldn't think. My brain. Okay.
Words are hard.
Words can be hard. Mm-hmm. I need my second cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So personal, I would have just gotten back from Legoland. I just got back. I took
okay, we're gonna pull back the curtain here for a second.
Can we start over?
No. This is better. So for all the listeners out there, it's not April 10th.
It's not.
But it is for you if you're listening to this episode. And so we look at the calendar and say, what are the things that would have happened that we could talk about so that way it's relevant to the timeline of her life? And so Megan just had a little faux pas there and said, I would have instead of I did. But so tell people what will
Words
have happened.
Are hard.
Tell people what would have happened before they're listening to this episode on April 10th.
Okay. So last year, I had a friend reach out inviting us to go to Legoland with just myself and Cash, our son. And so we did that. It was such a great time. Cash is our youngest, never had just solo time with him, obviously.
Yeah.
With having Liv. And so she recently reached out and said, hey, would that be something you're interested in doing again? I asked Cash. He was like, definitely. So
you guys loved it.
We did. We loved it. It was really special. So we're going back to Legoland and just for the weekend to have some mom and son time, which is going to be really fun.
Heck yeah, that's awesome.
I know it's going to be great. So
yeah, of course it's going to be great.
Obviously my personal
And
best.
then what would your business best be?
Reconciliation.
Oh,
and
we actually did just do it.
We did just do it also, but we're getting into the season more, right? So we're going to see
way more
charges.
transactions. Yeah.
And so that definitely makes them a little more difficult and time consuming.
So I will now have to also pull back the curtain on mine because Megan spilled the beans.
Sorry.
But on April 10th, if you're listening, I will have just gotten back from the BuyTax Sales and Marketing event in San Diego. This is the second year that they've done sales and marketing. Last year it was in Florida. So pumped it's on San Diego because it took me 3 flights to get to Florida last year. And I ended up rupturing my eardrum, I think, because remember that?
Yes.
I was in excruciating pain.
You were.
I think from going up and down, up and down, up and down. But now it's in San Diego, so it's just a little hop, skip, and a jump. So I'm super pumped for it. This is something that Nick Horgan, he's been on the podcast before, Amaze Insights, kind of spearheaded, and it's the best buy tech I've ever been to. Every table I sat down at, it was like, oh, this is awesome, and I need this thing. And so I can't wait to see what they do in year 2. I know it's going to be awesome. I already know that there's some great relationships of people that we've already met, like Logan, who was on the episode.
He's going?
Yep, he was on
awesome.
2 episodes ago. He's going to be there. I had a call with Accent 360 yesterday. They're going to be there. Obviously, Nick will be there. Hover's going to be there. So it's like
so cool.
Getting the gang back
and you're
together.
on the West Coast.
Oh,
which,
so nice.
I mean, love the East Coast, but
West Coast is the best coast.
it just travel time and the time difference. It really, it's
such
it's
a dream.
Tough. Yeah,
such a dream. I'm going to be there by like 11 o'clock in the morning. Instead of like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's usually like a 12, 14-hour travel day for me to get there.
That's amazing.
So pumped about that. Love it. And then I will have had one-on-one time with my daughter because Megan will be gone with my son. And that's always special too, because just like Megan doesn't get that, neither do I, because we're always together. And there's something special about having that time with just your kiddo. So
Definitely. I'm glad we're doing it.
okay, well, today, being that it's April 10th, if you're listening, we thought, man, we should probably talk about Easter and spring break. So Easter is taking place on April 20th. And of course, depending on where you are and where you're listening, seasons start at different times for everybody. For a lot of our properties, obviously we've got a high density here in southern Utah, but in other places as well, Easter usually kind of represents a bit of the start of the season.
Yeah, but it's so strange how it just jumps around.
I know. I don't know why can't Easter just get it together and just be like,
I don't know.
just be like Thanksgiving, the last Thursday of every March or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange. It makes it difficult to plan for.
The positive though is April 20th. The weather's going to be beautiful.
Hopefully.
Oh, it will be. That's a pool day right there.
April showers bring May flowers. Could be a rainy
Not
April.
on that day.
Maybe.
Not on a day of celebration.
But yeah, the weather should be nice, which is good.
And we did, so the shuttles for Zion, in Zion National Park, when the shuttles start is also a really great indication of when business really picks up too.
Yeah.
And the shuttle started on March 2nd. So you've got from March 2nd to April 20th.
That's a long time.
That's 60 days of business that you really get some demand, and we're seeing it. So if you're listening and you're looking at your booking pace, our properties are seeing some tremendous year-over-year growth in booking pace, anywhere from up 40% all the way up to 200% growth.
What do you think that is? Well,
why? We had the election, and so whether you like it or don't like it, you do know who the president is for the next 4 years, where in the last little bit you didn't know.
Yeah, a lot
right?
of uncertainty.
So there's uncertainty with that. And so I think that certainly helps. I think that we've had these seasons where when COVID happened, you couldn't really travel internationally. So everyone got their domestic travel, your Disneylands, Disney Worlds,
Outdoor.
national parks. Yep. All the outdoor stuff. And then as the international borders opened back up, I think everyone, we went to Mexico 4 times the 1 year.
Yeah.
And so it's once it opened back up, everyone was like, oh, I can't wait to get back there. So they did that. So I think now we're just back to a nice even mix. I think we're also seeing Europeans finally come back in a significant way. We've got a property in Kanab, the Canyons collection, that really does well with Europeans. And last year was the first year we started marketing to them, running targeted markets in Europe. And they did really well. We did that again this quarter, but I think you're getting some of that organic travel coming back as well. So, and I think right now the perception is the future's bright and things are good.
Yeah.
And so when people feel that way, then they're more likely to travel. And for our properties, it doesn't have to be a week-long commitment. It could be a
couple days,
a 4-day trip, you know, because if you book a length of stay promo, book 4, get 1 free.
It's worth it. You should just do it.
Why wouldn't you do that? Yeah. So obviously you're going to do that. So I think those are part of it. And then of course we have spring break coming up. So
which is different for everybody, right?
Every area.
Our spring break is happening now, starts today, technically. But the northern Utah schools, that doesn't happen until April, probably closer to Easter, honestly.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Well, it's kind of nice because they kind of go in waves.
Which is good.
And
otherwise, we would be inundated with
especially here in southern Utah. Yeah, but it's nice because then it gives our properties a chance to get this spring break for this week and this one for the next week.
Yeah.
And even our March occupancy right now looks really good. April looks phenomenal across the board, so we're seeing just some incredible growth. We've also changed our strategy a little bit this year. So if you're listening and you're forecasting April 20th, at this point, it's 10 days out. But if you're looking into May, June, and what we've done, because we've had so much saturation in a lot of our markets, we've really had to change our strategy. I'm going to my first HOTech event. It's like BITech, but another one in June. And I had to fill out a questionnaire for it yesterday and talked about what's impacted your industry and what changes have you made. And as I think about it, it's really it's the saturation.
Yeah.
We've got, think about when the dwellings opened in 2020 versus today, how different that is. And we're talking, they're in La Verkin. They're about 30 minutes outside of Zion. And La Verkin is a very, very, very small town.
Tiny.
And they were there was a Best Western.
La Quinta.
La Quinta and them, so they're the only cool place to stay at. And now you've got another little tiny home community. You've got the RV park that has the tiny homes, and then that Hampton Inn that's getting ready to open that's on the turn.
Well, and then you had Auto Camp, and then you have another
Auto
dwellings.
Camp,
you have the White Bite. It is crazy
Yeah.
how many vacation rentals are going up.
It's just unbelievable.
It
And
is.
so you can't, like back in 2020, we could get like $300 a night. We just can't do that anymore. Right. And so we're having to play this ADR game. And so really, if you're listening and you want to come stay, book early because our prices are lower
Yeah.
earlier out. And then they obviously, you know, we're big fans of revenue management tools, whether it be Take Up or Duetto, or if you're just using what's built into your PMS. And so our rates are obviously escalating as they get closer. So, you know, if you book like a bungalows at Zion early enough, you might be able to grab it at like $200 a night.
Right.
But if you're booking it like next week, it's $389.
Right.
You know, so that's a massive change in price. But in doing so and having our price be less, we are so much ahead in revenue. And obviously ADR and occupancy and RevPAR, those are all important metrics. But the only thing you can pay your bills with is revenue.
Right.
So you can't go to the bank and say, hey, my ADR was $900 a night, so I'm good on the mortgage. You know, they're going to want those dollars. So you got to have the revenue be up. And so that's really part of what our strategy has been, is pricing lower to create the interest. So then as we get to those shorter windows, they're into the yields.
Which can be a little tough for owners, right? A lot of hesitation there.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
I mean, like that.
talking them into like taking something lower because they have their mindset that they want
Yeah.
a certain
And
nightly
I
rate.
get it.
But it's like at the end of the day, like you said, you need money, you need revenue.
Yeah.
So, and we're seeing great success.
And it's amazing because in some situations, I don't want to talk about a particular property because I'm going to talk about numbers, but we had a property that has like $60,000 on the books right now for a month in the future. And last year at the same time, they had like $3,600.
And the difference is the nightly rate that we.
Yeah. So think about that, $3,600 to $60,000. And then mind you, that you should be taking a deposit of some fashion, whether it's the first night or it's 50%, whatever feels right to your property. But that's money that you get to use to help you out through the off season.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to be careful with that money because it's unearned revenue, right? It's not yours yet until the guest stays, but it does significantly help your cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
So we're having properties that are positive cash flow January and February that would have never been the case.
Right. Had they not taken the deposit.
Right. You know, and that's a hard time to get through in hospitality, even for like us as a management company, where for a lot of our properties, we're getting a percent of revenue and the revenue is, and we don't get deposit revenue because we don't charge them a percent until it's actually, they've truly earned it, you know? So we're in that same boat as the other hoteliers.
Yeah.
So what are the things you can be doing to prepare for your spring break and Easter? Obviously, you should have a pop-up on your website. You should have some sort of promo. You know, I've always said that I still believe that guests check like 7 platforms before they book. But Jason from Hover, when he came on, he said it's actually like 89 touch points.
What?
Yeah, because you're thinking of like Instagram, you're looking at stuff, and then you're on Facebook looking at stuff, and you're on TripAdvisor, and they're all there, and Expedia, and they're all there. And so he was like, actually, the number's much larger. You know, so you've got all these different touch points and all these places grabbing for attention. And so you've got to have something that's compelling and easy so that they can get to your website and quickly convert. Our goal, if you're listening and you've got your analytics where you can check them out, is to have you on the website for 45 seconds at least. That's like that's where we deem success. Think about it, 45 seconds isn't very long.
No.
An average reel on Instagram, 60 seconds. So you'll watch like a clip on Instagram longer than you'll stay on a website that you're planning to book a trip.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so you don't have a lot of time to get their attention, and so you better have your compelling offer like instantly available for them to book.
Yeah.
So be thinking about, you know, what does that look like, and also does spring break and Easter have a demand? Are you changing your prices accordingly? You know, did you lower your prices so you're at that high touch point now? And then what are your minimums? That's something that we've been kind of going back and forth with too. Is like
the 2-night minimum, no minimum. Yeah, that's tough.
You know, and something that we found out, this was for the properties up in Oregon this was a couple weeks ago. So they have a 2-night minimum, but if it's not available, so say Thursday is someone's there and then also Saturday someone checks in. So that Friday night would basically be no man's land. Well, WebRes will allow us to override that so someone can book a 1 night if it's the only thing available. However, that doesn't push out to the OTAs and Airbnbs.
That makes sense.
So then you're losing the opportunity on those platforms to grab that night, which isn't necessarily bad because we'd rather have the direct booking anyways. But it is something to think about. And so like the bungalows, for example, they're one of our properties that is their pre-booking is on fire. And so as we were looking at April, we're like, man, there's so many 1 nights in there. So we actually bulk overrided their 2-night minimum.
Oh.
So that way, we will have exposure to those OTAs for those one nights to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
And what's great about that is all of those days are at high occupancies. So it's at the highest rate that there is.
So it's worth it.
Yeah. And so we'll take an Expedia guest if they're going to pay $389 a night, then that, of course, we'll take that.
Yeah.
And so really being strategic, you need to be in your rates, because not only are we checking rates and we're checking pace and we're checking earned revenue, we're also looking at the calendar. And I think it was Emily that brought that up and said, look, we've got a bunch of these little pockets. And if you think about that, over the course of 30 days, all these little pockets, that simple bulk override could end up being $5,000 to $10,000 in revenue in 1 month just by paying enough attention that we realized an opportunity and changed it.
Yeah. I like that. I mean, majority of the stays are over 2 nights anyways, so you just have a few of those one night stays. Yeah, that's a great strategy.
And when you have that longer length of stay, obviously then that's helping you with your profitability. So then you can sprinkle in those one nights here or there. And then, as we're looking at properties that are pacing slower and thinking about strategically, like, okay, we're in the off season, we have a lower rate. Normally we want a 2-night. But do we want to get a 1 night to grab revenue? But then the conversation was, well, what does it cost to clean the room? Because if we're at the bottom of the barrel of our pricing and we get a 1 night, and we already know at that lower end of the pricing, it's not the best clientele. And then if we do a 1 night, then that is even more severe. Yeah. And it's highly more likely to have it be an OTA guest. So it's like you've got all these things, and then it's like, and it's costing us X to clean the room.
Right.
So if we're selling a room for, let's say, $89 and it costs $50 to clean it, and if they book on Expedia and they're taking a 20% commission, now you're getting $80. It costs $50 to clean it. That leaves $30.
Yeah.
And it's like, is that actually even worth getting a 1 night stay? So you've really got to be looking at it and determining. We did the episode about Edgewater Resort, and they used to have a 7-night minimum. And it's like, well, what kind of strategy are we looking for? Do we want to be able to grab those transient guests, or are you just looking for long-time guests? So there's not necessarily a right or wrong strategy, but you need to be in it.
Yeah.
And you need to be malleable, right? To say like, oh, we're going to switch this based on the demand.
Definitely.
Anything else that you can think of that people should be doing for Easter or spring break?
I think you covered it.
That's it, you think? No Easter baskets? No Easter bunnies?
No. Seems like a lot of work.
What's your favorite holiday?
My favorite holiday? Christmas.
Take out Christmas because that's like a no-brainer.
I mean, Easter is nice.
Right? It's kind of nice. It's like warm. I can remember that Easter we had in your mom's backyard. It was like the first like really sunny day. And we had like the little blow-up pool out because that's all we had at the time, Popping champagne.
Yeah. Easter, 4th of July. I mean, I like the holidays when it's warm too.
Yeah,
all the holidays are fun.
What about St. Patrick's Day? That's coming up,
That is.
When's St. Patrick's Day? That's in the past, actually.
Oh.
You can believe that.
Came and gone.
Mallory, what's your favorite holiday, not Christmas?
Ooh. Maybe Halloween.
Ooh, Halloween. That doesn't surprise me. I could see Mal's favorite holiday being Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that's it. You are now prepared for spring break and Easter. We touched on a lot of really important topics, especially for revenue management. Most importantly, of course, have a happy Easter. Have a great spring. I hope that you get to go somewhere awesome and fun for spring break with your family if you're listening. When you're in hospitality, make sure you go and experience it.
For sure.
One of the best ways to learn about how you can be better is going and see someone who does it really, really well. So get out and travel. Have a great spring break, and we will see you back here in 1 more week.